Hi, travelers. Welcome to another TGN live event where the stethoscope meets the suitcase, and every event is in a journey into the heart of travel healthcare. I'm your host, Rachel Altum, the online community manager for the Gypsy Nurse, and today we are talking about dating with our good friend Brandy Pinkerton from Travel Nurse 101. But before we get started, let's take a moment to see how the Gypsy Nurse can help you along your journey. TGN is a one-stop shop resource for travel healthcare workers. You can plan your next assignment with our downloadable Travel Nurse Guide, find your next assignment on our job board, find a place to stay from our housing partner Furnish Finder, and there's so much more you can unlock on thegypsynurse.com. From insightful interviews with industry experts to in-depth discussions on healthcare trends, our platform is a valuable resource for both seasoned professionals and those considering a career on the move. You can listen to this session and others on demand on thegypsynurse.com. Not only are we the largest online community, but we are also the largest in-person travel healthcare conference that we hold in Las Vegas every year. You can meet up with other travelers and your recruiters that you've been talking to for probably years that you've never met face-to-face. You can get your CEs at a great price, learn more about the travel healthcare world, and dance the night away at our infamous after party at Dre's nightclub. So me and Brandy always have the best times.
So much fun.
So this happens September 22nd through the 25th, 2024. You definitely don't want to miss it. And early bird tickets are on sale right now for $3.99. You don't want to miss out on the event of the year for our travelers. So go to travcon.org to learn more, and then come see me and Brandy in person, and we'll all hang out and have the best time ever.
Totally. So fun, you guys. You will not regret it. It's a blast. Best time I've had. Every year I look forward to it.
I know. Every year it gets better and better, bigger and bigger. And I remember like my first year going, and the exhibit hall was like very small, just little tables. And now it's like full blown, the biggest thing you've ever seen, the beautiful backdrops and games and contests and crazy prizes. So
yeah, all the giveaways, and people definitely like go out. I mean, the best booths you've ever seen, and so interactive, and so many other like-minded travelers there too. So it's just a blast.
So much fun. Okay, well, let's talk about one of the hottest topics in traveling, dating. So I know it's kind of hard for everybody to kind of have a love life on the road, but we're hoping that we can help you either have a good love life on the road or just be happy being single and living your life. So how does it work as a traveler to date? So there's two different kind of ways. I think you can chime in here, Brandy, but you can either just have casual and have fun, where you're just meeting people, going on dates, or you can try the long distance thing. Am I missing anything else?
No, not at all. I mean, definitely it can go either way. I kind of like personally love the approach, like kind of casual at first. And then if it turns into obviously more than that, then you can talk about the long distance thing or whatever the next steps are if they're truly a match for you. But I think casual kind of starting out is sometimes the best bet.
Yeah, I think so too, because don't get your hopes up. You should, but
I know you're like sometimes setting yourself up for disappointment, but try to be optimistic too. I mean, it's a great way. Travel nursing has been a great way to meet people, and just general getting out of your hometown. I mean, I think about it, and if I never would have left my hometown, like all the experiences and the people that I wouldn't have been able to meet. And I don't know about you, but I grew up in a really small area, and it's like honestly everyone like dated everyone. If you met a guy and got excited about them, and come to find out like they had dated one of your friends, multiple of your friends, and you're like, okay, am I ever going to meet someone that hasn't dated someone I know? And so I really feel like just getting out of your hometown period is such a great thing, and it makes you grow in just so many ways, and helps you meet new people that could potentially turn into, a boyfriend, girlfriend, and whatever happens, but I am so glad I left.
Well, I'm a firm believer. I tell my friends, I'm like, whoever I'm gonna marry is not living here. I live in a very small town. Everyone's already dated everybody, and I'm like, they're not gonna live in a like whoever I'm gonna be with is not gonna live in a boring town. Sorry, they're gonna be like in the mountains or like surfing or doing something fun and not living in the Midwest. So
Why do you think I moved to Montana?
I have plans to come see you in Montana. So I'll be looking for love there.
Definitely should. Definitely should. Dating here is a challenge too, because it's another small town, but
Okay.
we'll talk more about that.
But you know what? It's a small town that I'm not from.
Totally.
So
Totally.
it's
And
our
there's fun things to do.
yes, definitely. So yeah, so you can do the casual or long distance thing, but we suggest going casual first, just becoming friends with people. That's part of the fun part of traveling too, is meeting new people. It doesn't have to be the love of your life, but it's just someone fun to hang out. What else do you have to do?
And you have someone to go do things with, which I think is awesome. You don't have to go explore by yourself, and
Yeah.
so it's nice to have somebody to do stuff with.
Definitely. Another thing too, what to look for in a partner and even in yourself. So I think definitely being flexible, both parties need to be flexible. At one point you might leave and you're like, hey, I'm leaving, but I'm 2 hours away. I'll come on my day off. Like I'll come see you on my days off. Um, Understanding, you guys are going to have a lot of understanding. Be like, okay, yeah, I get that you just worked 12 hours and you don't want to FaceTime me because you've been crying on your way home, like, or you just need dead silence. So just understanding that, you're going to have different things happening. Trust definitely is going to need it,
Yeah.
especially if you do the long distance. Both of you can just be like, oh, they're not picking up the phone. Where are they at? Where are they at? I think we depend a lot on texting and expecting someone to just be like readily available. And especially as a traveler, I have a friend, she's scrubbed up from 9 to 5 and can't talk to her until the end of the day. So
Totally. I love all of those. That's all really, really great points. And, I think even just outside of travel nursing, just even regular nursing, like it's really hard to date a nurse, period. Like, honestly, like it's
yeah,
sometimes challenging. I mean, our job has so much demands. It's stressful. We're stressed. We're tired on our off days. We just worked a big stretch. Like, literally, like it takes me a full day to like recover where I even want to do anything. I just want to like, do self-care all day. I can't even hardly think about, going on a date or doing something. So I think dating nurses are hard. It's hard anyways, but travel nursing does kind of complicate it a little bit. But I think that, one of the key things that you definitely have to look for is with yourself and with a potential partner is that communication factor. Like it has to be better than ever. You have to communicate your preferences and your boundaries. And I think that people have really just have gotten away from that good communication, or maybe it never was there, but like
yeah,
definitely that has been like my one of the most attractive things, that when I have dated someone, when they're super communicative, like I love that. I'm like, you know what, even if it's stuff I don't want to hear, like we need to talk about anything and
yeah.
everything. And so I think that's super, super important, but some people are not good at that.
Well, it's very uncomfortable, and that's what I'm learning too, is just like speak up. I'm like a recovering, what do they call it? Recovering people pleaser. And they're like, who I saw a thing that says like name 3 people that like is pleased with you. And I'm like, okay. So I was always like afraid to speak up and communicate anything like with my own friends and stuff like that. This is like across the board with anybody. And so I think that's just really important. Just get it out, or you're just going to live in misery by yourself. So
Totally. And you're gonna always be like, I wish I would have said that or done that if you're like didn't communicate it. And one of the last
mhm.
guys that I dated, and he was like, he communicated so well. Like I was like, I've never experienced that. And it was just like such a breath of fresh air. And there were some things that I was like, oh, like, that I didn't really want to hear, but I'm like, I'm so glad he's like telling me this now. We're getting it out in the open before you
Mhm.
like spend all this time and effort invested into someone for them to just like throw something on you later, when just early on, just communicate about it and get it all out in the open. We are not about wasting time. You know what? Life is too
Yeah.
short. So let's just talk about it. But
And two, like, you're only there for 3 months, and then if you, like, mess it up because you spoke your mind, 1, they're not worth your time if they're
totally.
not going to, like, respect, like, anything that you're communicating, and 2, you don't ever have to see them again if you don't want to.
Yeah.
They're not gonna follow you across the country, at least I hope not.
Hopefully.
Hopefully not. But yeah, and 2, with, like, communication as well, I'm gonna add, like, in the long run, like, everything's gonna come out anyways, and you're gonna be like, "Oh, man, why didn't you say that to me earlier?" Um, you just should've.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's hard, but it's definitely the best policy to stick by if you can for everybody.
Yeah, and just being honest, even just I think that's the last takeaway, I think, too, is just honesty, like, don't be like, "Oh, well, my nurses wanted to go out to dinner, that's why I can't call you," but you're just saying like, "Oh, I'm just really tired," just be upfront, be like, "Well, I wanted to go out with the girls," and like I said, if they don't like it, then they're probably not the one for you because you're gonna have to deal
Yeah,
with
yeah, you have to be able to, do things with your friends, do things for yourself. I used to be really bad about, like, canceling because I was like, super tired from work, literally, like, I would be, like, so exhausted, and it wasn't that, like, I wasn't interested in that person, but just sometimes our job takes it all out of us, and, like,
Yeah,
we're just literally, like, taking care of ourselves some days, and so I've gotten a lot better with that, but, and I'll be honest, I'm like, "Hey," like, just being honest, I had a really bad, shift. I just, I wanna stay home tonight. It's nothing against you. Let's make plans another day really, really soon. And I'm gonna Netflix and chill by myself, literally, and I'm gonna binge the new Love is Blind.
I'm
So no, but
gonna rot in my bed, just leave me alone for and scroll on TikTok all day, but
thank you.
whatever it is to let you get you recharged.
Totally.
Yeah. Or if you can find the person that will just like lay in bed with you too and just watch and not talk to you and just bring you food.
Yes, that's
Those,
awesome.
those
That's
are the
so
best.
helpful when they can just be like, we don't have to always like go out. We can just hang
Yeah.
at the house and like make dinner here or order DoorDash or whatever it is, not always
Yes.
have to go out and have a plan and just, sometimes just relax and not get out of your PJs all day.
Yes. Put that on the list. So, say you find love and you're like, I don't know if this is gonna go well. What do you do when you're leaving? Like, how do you break up with someone?
Yikes. Um, I mean, again, I think I've learned personally like that communication factor a lot more. I mean, definitely, I feel like by the time I'm leaving somewhere, I already know if it's something that I want to continue to pursue. And I typically like just get a gut feeling about somebody pretty even early on. Like, okay, is this someone that is worth me investing time in long
Mm,
term? And at my age, you just kind of, you either know or you don't. And so, um, hopefully you already have had those conversations, those tough conversations before like the end of your assignment, and making a plan if it is something that you want to continue to pursue. You guys have a plan like moving forward. And for me, like a lot of times like I've extended somewhere, so that's helped a lot. You can stay somewhere up to almost a year, so just keep extending possibly. Or like I know I've heard a lot of stories about people long distance making it work. I personally think that would be really, really hard, but if for the right person, I think that you'll do whatever it takes to make it
yeah.
work. And possibly, like maybe they're a healthcare professional too, and they can travel with you, or they work remotely from home and they could travel with you. Like, I think that would be super awesome too. And I
Mhm.
like one of my end goals would be to like meet somebody who could travel with me. I think that would just be
That would
amazing.
be nice.
And if not, then you've got to just navigate, okay, how are we going to do this long distance thing? And the great thing about travel nursing is that flexibility where you can take time off during your assignment and in between. So you can, go visit them. They can come visit you. You can take off some time in between to see each other and that sort of thing. Use
Yeah.
FaceTime.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah. And like we said, just be upfront. If you're, talking to someone like, hey, I'm going to be leaving in 3 months, they know there's no pressure or anything like that. And you're like, hey, I told you I was leaving. Sorry you fell in love with me.
Sorry, my bad.
Oh my gosh. So, we're talking about how you can make it work. There are some people in our Travel Nurse Network group that had, tons of people doing long distance too. One person said, I met my current boyfriend on an assignment almost 2 years ago. I extended as long as I could, and now we have an understanding where I travel wherever I want for 3-ish month contracts in the spring, and we just evaluate ongoing basis. I try to be home as much as I can and take local contracts. I like that where you're just kind of, it would also be nice just to work only 3 months a year and just like spend the rest with your boyfriend.
That'd be awesome for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, and that's the thing about nursing too, is we have so many options to do, whatever it is that we decide to do for whatever season of our life that we're in. So I like that.
And I like the evaluating, like, okay, I took a contract for this many months, that type of thing. So yeah. Another person said once a month we meet up to see each other. Aside from that, we call each other every night and text throughout the day. We don't impede on each other from our goals. We just make it work. I like that too. And I don't know if a lot of people know, like with the Apple, which I think Androids too, they have voice memos where like you don't have to talk on the phone. You can just send like a little voice note, which like
I love that.
I do that with my friends all day long, and I think that would be perfect just to like send a little like, hey, how's your day going? Da 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 da, and you don't have to like call. Like you can just listen to it on your break if you get a break, and all of that.
Sweet. Yeah, and it's your voice, and they get to hear it, but like not committed to like having a full blown phone conversation at that time or whatever. So, and they can also save it and listen to it later.
Yeah, that's always nice too. Another one, if they're a nurse too, convince them to become a traveler. This person said, my now wife was on assignment when we met. I was staff. She left for a few months right after we met, but we stayed in touch. She came back to the area for another contract, and then I finally quit my staff job and we traveled together for a year, but it wasn't for me. We bought a house in Denver and have been married. So she still does assignments from time to time. So I think that's good. Or convince them to take a remote job. Say,
oh. Totally. That would be, all of the options.
Well, a lot of times too, like, the traveler will be like the breadwinner. And I mean, I'm not saying like you're dating for 3 months and then be like, I'm going to like quit your job and travel with me. But I mean, there's so many different things that like, if someone wanted to quit their job, like pick up a life with you, like DoorDash, all those different like delivery services. There's all kinds of like little odd end jobs that they can just pick up and contribute to your life.
Or be my dog sitter when I'm at work. I mean, like I think that's such a great way to, like, I know sometimes like if you do meet another nurse to even travel with, like sometimes, especially in our current market, and depending on what your specialty is, it could be hard to travel in pairs right now, like just being honest. So I think like being like, okay, hey, like I'm going to work this 3-month assignment. We're going to go here and like kind of take turns, even if you have to, and like give each other a break. But obviously whoever is on the break is doing other things to help, like, with the household items and chores and dinner and cleaning and just that sort of thing to make it the other person still feel like, they're making an effort and, in the relationship too. I think that's a great thing to do. I would totally be down for that.
I would be down to come home to dinner. Just be like, you know what, I'm going to take care of you, and you're going to make dinner and have the house clean, and that's all I ask. That would be nice.
Oh, nice. And a back massage too, maybe, you know.
Just pay them to be your cook and everything else. That's not how love is, guys, okay? It's
not reality. Totally.
All right, so, you're falling in love, but there's a lot of crazy people. Everyone in the ER probably knows some crazy people, or the psych. So how are we staying safe with dating? I think we all need to be aware of like love bombing. If they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to travel with you, I'm going to quit my job, I'm going to like, if they're moving very, very fast, just pump the brakes.
Red flag, red flag, red flag.
You just met, you don't really know any of their friends. So I think just be very, very careful when they're just like making big plans within like a week or a month or anything like that. Trust your gut for
Always.
sure. If you're like, he's kind of weird, just like, it's fine. He's weird. Don't talk to him ever again. Like he can be the nicest person, but you're like, oh, he's just kind of odd. I don't care. We want you alive.
Something seems off. Like you said, trust your gut. It's normally always right.
Yes. And if you're, even if it's like, a fellow nurse, like introducing you to them, like if you're going to dinner, make sure that you tell your family, like, hey, I'm going to dinner with this person. Here's my location. Let people know you're going. Go to a public place. I know like men and women, like they want to be a little bit chivalrous and be like, oh, I'll come pick you up. Like drive on your own, Uber, even if like have a conversation, like get to the bar early. Like if you're meeting someone at a bar, have a conversation with the bartender, be like, hey, I'm new around here, I'm going on a date. Like if you don't know a lot of people, I know some of this stuff is just kind of like, well, yeah, but you never know. And then we've also partnered with this really cool device called She's Birdie. So it's just a little, I don't have it in front of me right now, but you pull it and it screams, but it also has a button if you get the Birdie Plus. If you do it, it'll send you like a text message and pretending to be somebody. If you click it twice, it'll be a fake phone call and it'll have like an actual person being like, hey, are you busy? Blah, blah, blah. And so then, you can be like, oh my gosh, I have to step away. I have to talk to this person. And it sounds like there's an actual person like there. You can put it on speaker. And then if you hit it, I think 3 times, the cops are coming. They're coming for you, bud. So
I have one. I don't have the plus. But I love it. And like I use it even like when I'm walking my dogs and other things too, not just when, going on a date, but I definitely agree. I think the biggest thing too you can do is letting other people know where you're at, where you're going, sharing your location on your phone with like your friends in the area, your family. Also, like Uber and Lyft also lets you share your ride with your friends and stuff. And I think that is like just no matter where you're going, like if you're going on a date or wherever, like share your location with your friends and your family. Like that could definitely be a lifesaver.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The more information, the more possible. I have like even with the audio notes, my friend sometimes like she works in a little shop by herself, and so then she'll be like, hey, there's a weird car parked outside my work. It's this, and this. They look like this. And like she's given me like we've done that before, like full details. Like if I get kidnapped, this is all the information. You're the last person to hear from me. Send this to the police. And it sounds silly, but you never know, it might save your life.
Totally. And I feel like I have a lot of kind of like, creepers too on social media. Like just if you're not on private and stuff, which I'm not, especially because my travel nurse 101 job too, wanting to be open and have that open profile and stuff. But I get so many creepers on social media. So it's like you never even know like who's real anymore. Like, are you a real person? Are you like from here? Is this spam? Is this like, that it's just the world that we live in. So just be cautious, trust your gut.
And I feel like, yes. I feel like this, I know this all might sound redundant. I feel like I've told this before too, but like, don't post where you're at in real time, especially like if you're alone, because even like on Instagram, people, if you put the like tag the location in your story, those people like say in Chicago that are in there, they can click on, the highlight of Chicago on Instagram and see what everybody's doing in Chicago, including you. And so they're like, oh, that seems like an attractive person that I want to talk to. And then they might just show up at the bar you're at or show up wherever they are. So just be careful, even like posting like my new house, on social media, like excited about, your temporary housing. Like people can just pull up your address so quickly, even with just a few numbers.
Totally. I know. And I feel like I'm kind of naive a little bit. Like it's just me. So sometimes I really need a reality check because I want to believe there's good in everybody, and I'm naive and it's not the case, And so recently, I just bought a new house, and I was thinking like I almost like on either side of me, it's a new neighborhood. Like both houses are for sale on both sides, and I'm like was gonna be like someone come be my neighbor, and I'm like you're totally giving away, like, where you live. Like, no, ma'am. Like, I had to really, like, stop myself. Like, I almost posted that and, like, where or, like, the realtor.com link. I'm like, anybody's about to know where you live if you do that. So I was like, delete. But someone come move in next door to me and be my neighbor. One of my friends. I would love that. But
yeah. Well, and they'll know the layout too. And if you have a rental, most likely your rental was listed online, and then they can look at your rental listing and see like what your bedroom looks like, where your kitchen is, where like the rental keeps the knives. Like, I don't know, my crime junkie is like coming out of me.
I'm like, you've been watching so many reality murder documentaries. I can tell.
You never know. So you just have to be careful. Okay, well, there's limitless things to be safe. Look them up. Trust your gut 100%. Let everyone know where you're at. We had someone in the comments say that they love telling the bartender or the staff that you're there on a date and you're nervous or you're this or that. So yeah, thank you for that. So we're talking about meeting people. Are dating apps out for travelers? I took a poll in our network group, and a lot of you guys are not a fan of them. I asked for the best dating apps. Number 1 is Hinge, and then number 2 is none, no dating apps. And then we have Bumble, Tinder, Facebook dating, Chart Chat, or Epic. I don't know if anyone's found there.
That's hilarious. That made me laugh so loud. Like we all love Epic. It's the best, documentation system that we have. So that's hilarious.
So if you can find love on there too, it's great.
Into their DMs there.
Someone said Jack Daniels and a pillow. Someone said farmers only for us Midwest people over here. If you're traveling to Indiana, get on farmers only.
That made me laugh. Like for real, farmers only.
Are you asking for real?
Yeah, it's a for real website. Yes.
Yeah, it is.
That's hilarious.
They have ads in Indiana for it. So because we have lots of farm, we have lots of corn over here. So get on farmers only if you're in the Midwest. I'm sure. I can't imagine who's on there. The Amish that are not allowed to be on the internet, I'm sure, that have little sneaky phones.
Let me see what farmers are out there. Well, and I think too, like it also depends on your location, like what the biggest dating apps in those areas are. Like in the big metropolitan areas, like I think Hinge and all of those are really big. But I was telling Rachel in small rural Montana, I got on Hinge and like it wouldn't match me with hardly anybody. And I was like, what's wrong with me? Oh my God. And I like went in and like looked at my preferences again. I'm like, okay, something's wrong with me. I'm not matching with anybody. And my preferences were fine. And I just like lowered my age limit significantly to like low 30s, which I'm not low 30s, but I was like, let's just see. And like instantly, like I started getting a ton of matches. It's just like, people in their later 30s, like in this area, just aren't really on Hinge. They're using other things. And my friend said, like, they're kind of behind in the times here, honestly. So probably like Hinge is coming, but they're still using Tinder. And that blows my mind. I'm like, what? Like, for me, I've always just kind of looked at Tinder as more like a hookup website. But they're like, no, Tinder's really big here still. So we just need to step up with the times here in Montana.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So you asked this question too, before. You said, do you put your profession in your bio as a travel nurse, travel healthcare worker? We had some like mixed reviews. Some people were like, yes, this is what someone puts on Hinge. Short-term relationship, open to long. I'm in this location for travel nursing. My contract is 13 weeks, but my plans are flexible. I do what makes me happy. Or I'm a traveler, but willing to settle down for the right person. So, you
I
can
love
be
that.
very upfront. But then there was a lot of no's. I was very surprised how much our group did not like dating apps. So, or at least are a little bit more like not so upfront about travel healthcare.
Yeah. I
Um,
usually just put like I'm a NICU nurse or whatever. I don't put traveling nurse or traveling NICU nurse. Like I just put that's me
yeah.
though.
Well,
We
that's
can have
what
that conversation.
Yeah. Well, someone said they're like, I don't say anything until about date 4, but then you would have figured out if they're worth sticking around anyways. So that makes sense.
I
Another
like that idea.
I do too. I think like get to know them, and another person had like talked about like being safe. And so like, say it is a creep that's going on a date with you, and then they find out, oh, you're a travel nurse, you have no family here, you have no friends here, you won't be like not missed, but like it's gonna take a minute. Like the hospital is gonna be like, where are you at? But
Your manager's gonna be calling for you.
yes. But that's one thing too. And then another person is like, I don't include it because during COVID, travel nursing got the big money like logo slapped on their faces,
Yeah, that's
and
true.
so they're like, oh, you have money, you're a travel nurse, like you make all
Yeah.
this money. I mean, we still hear it all the time. And so like that's another concern too. By saying that, they're gonna think you have money, so either they're gonna try and be a gold digger,
Yeah,
or
they're
they're gonna
looking for a sugar mama. Nope.
yeah.
Mm-mm.
um Another person from a male perspective said it's much easier for a woman traveler to get dates than the men. A man will almost always be okay with like a one night stand, or like one night, 1 week, 1 month, or 13 weeks of your presence. A female sees a male traveler typically as a hard pass. So like they're like, oh, they're gonna be gone for in a month. They just want to hang out. So
Yeah.
feel bad for you guys out there. So what's that?
I think that it kind of puts some doubt possibly in
Yeah.
your mind, like, up front when, because you're like, "Oh, they're not gonna be here for long." So, you don't know to, like, how much effort to invest into it, and it could even, like, it could run a great thing because you have that, like, preconceived conception when maybe it's again, like, they're open to staying longer, they're open to settling down in that area or whatever, but
Yeah. Yeah. So, that's what he had to say. And let's see the last one. They put that they're travel nurse, and every single match wanted a quick hookup. So they just changed it to nurse. So, kind of what you're looking for put it out there if you want people to know, like, this is not going to be anything. I just want to have someone to go to dinner with. I just want someone to hang out with. Put it out there. But if you're looking for something that's going to last, I would probably not put that you're out there. And for safety reasons too. We're all about safety. So
yeah, I agree with that totally. Just to each your own preference, but definitely I think I would leave it off. I mean, I know we want to, and then you can just have that conversation with them in person, a few dates in and tell them more, a lot of people don't even understand what travel nurses are or what
yeah,
we really do. Or like you said, they think we're rich from the pandemic, but all of these false things that aren't true. And you can really paint the picture like, what it is that you're doing and what your long-term goals are, and all of the things like that. It's just
Definitely.
worth having a conversation in person about, I think.
Well, it gives you something to talk about too, because then
Yeah.
you're like good 20 minutes of explaining what travel healthcare is and
Mhm. Yes.
everything like that, and your different like experiences with it and where have you been and all that stuff. So sometimes it's nice to save those conversations for in person so that way they can get to know you versus just like messaging your whole entire life story, because when you get together, then what are you going to talk about?
Yeah. And I think they're normally like, especially if they're not in the healthcare industry and don't know about travel nursing, like they're really curious about it. And I think too, like in some ways, it can really be like an attractive quality to have someone who has, traveled around the United States and has had these experiences and been to different places. And I think that's an attractive trait to have. And they're like, okay, well, at least they've like been out, they've had life experiences. They're not just in their hometown again, like they've not, that they've never left. And um, I think it's a super great thing to have behind my belt. And I love to talk about it. And
Yeah.
yeah.
It's fun. It's always fun hearing stories, and you're like probably the best travel guide. You know what I mean? Like it'd be the best person to date because you're like, oh, I want to go here. You're like, I've been there. I have the best restaurant.
Yeah, let's go here. Like
Yeah.
totally. Yeah.
Well, we have one question. It says, where's the best city to date? In your opinion, I've seen in our network group, Oregon and Washington are pretty great spots. I think it was
Yeah.
Seattle,
I think it's
but
very though, like they're like, it just depends on where you're at. Like they're very like woke in those big cities. You know what? It depends on what you're kind of used to. But it's a good thing because there's so much variety and so much whatever your preferences are in those big type of cities, you're gonna find it there
yeah,
versus a small town.
I think you'll have more options, more people to meet in bigger cities for sure. Like you said, Austin is like very lively, a lot of fun. So I think you'll find, but the bigger the city, the more variety of people and the more people that you're just gonna like not be picky with, but you just have a more diverse
Yeah.
set of people. So,
Which is nice.
yeah, so that's really nice. And so I think probably the bigger the city, you can't really pinpoint where your soulmate is. So
That's true. I know.
maybe any little city. But yeah, I would just, if you want to get on the dating scene, I think starting out in big cities because you're going to get the most variety. Like if you're like, oh, I like people who go to the gym, I like people who hike, like there's going to be all different. I like people that read, that play in a band. So you're just going to get a hodgepodge of everybody.
Yeah, I agree totally. Because it's hard in small areas. I mean, there's not like where I'm at right now, like there's not concerts, there's not art really, there's not all of those things. It's more just, out, which I love the outdoors. So that's why I picked this place. But that's the kind of people that live here, outdoorsy, mountain, skiing, all of those things, but not people that are really into art and cuisine and some other things that maybe you really like to do too, like those big cities. And I grew up in like Dallas Fort Worth area, and that is a great, I mean, so much dating, so many of my friends there, oh my gosh, like we compare stories and could write a book probably after all of our dating stories. But Dallas is a great place too, a lot of variety as well.
Yeah. And I think too, also in the smaller towns, you'll get to a point where the dating app is like, we have nobody. We have nobody for you. We've ran out of people for you in your area. Expand your search. And you're like, okay, fine. Am I that picky?
I know.
It's
Well,
fine.
I'm really bad too, like to be like, if they live too far away, like I'll swipe left. And like maybe I don't need to do that. But it makes me wonder how many other people are like, okay, if they're not within an hour of where I'm at, I'm gonna
Yeah.
swipe left. Maybe it's somebody that you really would have been interested in, but just based on distance, you're like, no.
Or if you do, you're like, oh, you can be a pen pal. Like, we'll just talk and text, but like, oh, am I really going to drive or fly a couple hours to come see you? That's how good your connection is, I guess. Whatever you decide to do. So we talked about, meeting people online, but what about out in the wild? So Brandy and I were talking too, like if you want to meet someone like out in the wild, go do something that you like to do. Like if you don't like a drinker, don't meet anybody at the bar. They're there to drink and they're there to have like a wild time maybe. So like if that's not you, don't go to the bar to find a boyfriend. If you're active, go to the gym. Go hiking, find group activities. If, whatever your religion is, like find a church to go to, find a support group or something like that. Yeah.
I love that. I mean, just go do things that you love to do, and you're going to meet other like-minded people, whether that be new friends or someone that you could potentially date. I think that's a great way. And also, like, you never know, like maybe they have friends too, and they're like, oh, hey, like you may not have met them at whatever hobby it is that you're out there
Yeah.
pursuing, but they're like, ooh, I know somebody that like that would be perfect for you. That's happened to me quite a bit too. So
Welcome to my life right now. Everyone's like, I have someone perfect for you. I'm like, please don't have anybody for me.
Actually, I know. Or like somebody was telling like I wish I had a Trader Joe's here, but they're like, I just go to Trader Joe's and like what? And she's like found people to date at Trader Joe's while she's shopping. Yes. I'm like,
Okay.
what?
Put that on the list, everybody. Trader Joe's. Good to know. I guess that's like a well-rounded place.
Yeah,
It's
I guess
not quite like budgety like Aldi's, but it's not like Whole Foods.
They're in between. They're not too bougie, but
yeah, I think you'll find a good person there. Some people find dates at their hospitals. So maybe a patient or fellow staff. What are your thoughts on that, Brandy? Like dating doctors? I've recently seen a post where someone's like, I want to date this doctor. And fellow staff. What are your thoughts on that?
well, most nurses kind of have thoughts about doctors. No offense, guys. We're all kind of like, oh, I would never date a doctor because, XYZ, they flirt with all the nurses. They always, they work around a bunch of nurses, whatever. I've seen it go both ways. But for the most part, I think definitely you have to maintain that professionalism. It's a boundary. You know what I mean? When you go to work, like we have to be professional. We're there to take care of our patients. You cannot date your patients. I'm so sorry. Like, even though they like might be trying, the sweet little 9-year-old man, but like, yeah, like we are there to be professional and to do our job. And I mean, I guess if they're discharged and you meet them out in the community after, but I would still be a little bit cautious of that. But as far as coworkers, I would just be cautious. Like you're there to work and to do a good job and to not have anything that you're doing in question. So just be professional always when you're at work. There's cameras everywhere. You will get busted. And no one will want to lose their job over that. And two, like what if things don't work out? You still have to work with that person
Yeah.
too, and that could be really, really hard. I would, for the longest time, like when I was a staff nurse, even, I was like, I have never dated anybody that I've worked with and just really maintain that professional boundary. And then I ended up like dating a couple guys at the hospital, but they worked in like a different unit than I did. I didn't interact with them at work day to day in the same unit. I think you just have to be very, very careful. And if you are, be super quiet about it. Don't tell anybody, and be professional and don't do anything crazy at work or in the break room. And, and I think too, like as travel nurses, we already like kind of have the stigmatism that we have to already fight a little bit about why we're there to help that unit and those staff members, to take care of our patients. And if you start dating their staff, I think it's only going to hurt the reputation for travel nurses. So just be cautious. I mean, if it's true love, if you're true loving, just do it outside of work and don't tell anybody.
And then convince them to become a traveler and then get a sign-on bonus. Have them sign up with your recruiter so you can get a sign-on bonus.
Exactly. And then you can split it and go on and then go on a vacation together from the sign-on bonus.
You know what? There should be a makeups or like a story or a movie about how a traveler just goes from hospital to hospital convincing staff nurses to come away with them, and so they just get the sign-on bonus. I'm gonna write
I do that, but not in the way of dating. I literally like convince all the staff, usually like managers, usually like, stop trying to tell my staff to leave to go travel nursing. And I'm like, I'm sorry. They like asked me, or they like see all my adventures on, on social media, and they're interested in it. Like it's enticing, it's intriguing. They want to know more about it.
Yeah, exactly. So we also were talking about too, there's like other traveler meetups. Like I know Travel Nurse Take, they have a lot of meetups all the time. So that's a lot of fun. I know you said something about MedVenture. They have meetups and all of that. So
totally. Yeah, they even have an app. It's super cool. I was a MedVenturist last year for them, was basically an ambassador, because it's just such a fun group of people, and so many like-minded fun people. And so they have an app, which is super cool. So people will like host meetups in their area, like Friendsgiving, like different events they're out doing, wherever. And again, it's more successful in those big cities like Seattle, Portland, Dallas, New York, just wherever, San Diego. I know a lot of them are in California and different places in California too, but they'll go do fun things together. And then they also last time I looked, they had a dating app aspect to it. Also, I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to it. I was mainly just there for the meetups, and you can literally like sign up right there. And they go to TravCon too and host some meetups and do some fun things.
Yeah, speaking of like the biggest meetup for travelers, do you ever think that you're gonna find love at TravCon?
I think it's a huge possibility. I mean, again, there's just so many people there, and just even if it's not a fellow traveler, I mean, there's companies there, there's recruiters there. That's your vibe. I mean, that sort of thing, and just being out and going to the events and stuff, going to the pool parties. You just never know who you're going to meet.
Yeah, definitely. So if you're looking for other travelers, definitely, I think that is like a fun spot. And then obviously you're going to make friends and everything like that. There's the Dre's nightclub that, you can dance the night away. Everyone's like dressed to the nines. Like everyone is so beautiful and so handsome. It's hard to not like keep your eyes off of people. And so
true. The drinks are flowing. It's unlimited drinks. So like that's fun. You might help liquid courage a little bit.
Yeah. So you might have been eyeing someone in the exhibit hall all the time, or like in one of the classrooms, and then you finally get the courage to be like, do you want to dance? Like we're in junior high. And then and then you find love, and then you can go to brunch, the breakfast that is provided. So good. So many meals are provided. I'm gonna bring food into this, but yeah, then you can go to brunch together and be like, oh my gosh, it's so fun meeting you, and plan your next adventure with that person. So you never know. Possibilities are completely endless at TravCon. So be sure to go. You might find love, but you'll definitely find friends. You'll find like, your travel family, and it's just so much fun. So tickets.
I met a lot of people last year and just like have maintained friendships and just have loved following their adventures too. And it's been good.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's so much fun. So yeah, I think that's all we have on. I mean, I'm sure we could go on and on. But be sure to, you don't have to be looking for love everywhere you go. Just be open. And sometimes, like when you least expect it, you'll find it. So don't put any pressure on it. Just enjoy your assignment.
Yeah. And what's meant to be will be, no matter what, I believe, still at the end of the day.
Me too. So if you guys have any other questions or anything like that, message us. We'll be happy to give our insights. I know we're not complete experts on it, but yeah, we appreciate all of you guys. And if you have any questions, reach out and just stay safe out there. And good luck finding your soulmate somewhere in the world.
Happy travels, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.